Et voilà. Do you hear me correctly? Do you hear me well? You can hear me, yes? Manjiri, do you hear me?
Yeah. Oh, you're asking me? I thought you were checking on that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So, hello everyone, and so happy to be here again with all of you. It's a bit dark over here. I hope you can see me well. And we're having a great discussion this afternoon. It's Sunday, and although it's a bit rainy over here in Quebec, it'll be quite sunny in the interview. So, Dr. Manjiri, thank you for being here this afternoon.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
And I'll just translate in French, as you know. So, alors, bonjour tout le monde. Merci de partager l'entrevue et merci d'être avec nous aujourd'hui, dimanche. Donc, il fait gris dehors, mais il va faire soleil dans l'entrevue. Et aujourd'hui, on va parler avec la docteure Manjiri, la docteure Ayurvedique Manjiri, de comment sortir d'un burnout naturellement. So today we'll discuss a great topic, which is springing back from burnout naturally. But before we proceed, Dr. Manjiri, if it's okay with you, I will just share with everyone your bio, because many might not know you yet, although many love you already. And it's always a pleasure to have you on. So, and also today, just so you guys know, we will be discussing a great offer, once in this entire rest of the year offer. It'll be the Ayurvedic cleanse that we can be assisted and do with Dr. Manjiri. So stay tuned during the interview. It's incredibly affordable, and there's so many bonuses in there, and it's a great reset. Plus, it's during an auspicious moment. So thank you, Dr. Manjiri. So I'll just share the bio.
Yeah.
Alors, pour tout le monde, sachez que durant l'entrevue, il va y avoir une offre. Donc, on va parler du burn-out, mais il va y avoir une offre extraordinaire aussi pour être dans le Cleanse Ayurvedique que Dr. Manjiri va offrir, et on va être assisté par elle. Et c'est incroyablement abordable, et c'est durant une période du calendrier auspicieuse. Donc, alors, je vais donner la biographie pour celles parmi vous qui ne connaîtriez pas Dr. Manjiri. Alors, la dame, tu vérifies que tout est beau. Hein? C'est parfait, merci. Alors, la Dr. Manjiri Nadkarni est une docteure ayurvédique, nutritionniste holistique agréée, consultante certifiée en allergie de base, conférencière et éducatrice internationale. Sa mission est d'éduquer et d'autonomiser les femmes en utilisant le super pouvoir de l'Ayurveda et de les aider à guérir au plus profond d'elles-mêmes en éliminant la cause des malaises et des maladies. Elle se spécialise dans l'intégration de la médecine ayurvédique ancienne à la nutrition holistique moderne et travaille sur des maladies chroniques telles que des troubles digestifs, les déséquilibres hormonaux et les troubles métaboliques. Donc, évidemment, si vous voulez en savoir plus, vous pouvez toujours aller sur son site qui est manjirinadkarni.com, qui est comme son nom. Alors, les détails vont accompagner la vidéo. Je vais le traduire en anglais. Merci de votre patience et merci de partager en grand nombre pour une médecine intégrative au Québec. So, the biography of Dr. Manjiri Nadkarni. She's an Ayurvedic physician, registered holistic nutritionist, certified basic allergy consultant, international speaker, and educator. Her mission is to educate and empower women using the superpower of Ayurveda and help them heal from deep within by removing the root cause. She specializes in integrating ancient Ayurvedic medicine with modern holistic nutrition and works on chronic conditions. Certified basic allergy consultant, international speaker, nutrition, and works. Just one second. Daniel, le son s'est mis à revenir.
That's probably me sharing the.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
sorry about that.
Non, c'est correct, Dan, tout est beau. C'est de son côté. Not a problem. And works on chronic conditions such as digestive disorders, hormonal imbalances, and metabolic disorders. You can learn more about her visiting her website, manjirinadkarni.com, but everything will accompany this interview. So anything you wanted to add? Il y a quelque chose que vous vouliez ajouter before we start the wonderful subject of this afternoon?
So the one thing I would love to add is, that we have been through some crazy times where the world state is completely different. There is a lot of chaos, heavy, intense energies, and luckily the planets have shifted. We are in the 9 nights of the goddess, which is one of the most auspicious times you can ever look for. If you are looking to get out of the burnout, if you are looking to nourish yourself, because when we look at the goddess Durga, she's a protectress and she's also the mother goddess. When you look at any mother goddesses, they are going to help you nourish yourself, right? So for those viewing this, if you are looking to manifest your health, wellness, whether it's in the mental realm, in the physical realm, getting over a burnout or any other chronic conditions, these 9 days are the best ones to do it. And also the 10th day that will accompany it. But this is the best time to do it.
Yes, let me just translate that. Alors, comme vous savez, comme j'ai mentionné plus tôt sur la page aujourd'hui, on rentre dans des festivités hindoues qui s'appellent les 9 jours et 9 nuits de la divine mère Durga. Et il est dit dans les Védas et pour cette période de temps-là qu'il n'y a pas de temps plus auspicieux pour démarrer quelque chose. Donc, si vous voulez changer votre santé, si vous voulez changer, augmenter votre vitalité, que ce soit au niveau physique, émotionnel et même psychologique, il n'y a pas de temps plus auspicieux que la période qui se dessine devant nous. Et c'est d'ailleurs une des raisons pourquoi il va y avoir plusieurs lives avec le docteur Manjiri sur la page qui va conduire jusqu'au Cleanse Ayurvedique qui va être du 30 octobre au 5 novembre. I was just mentioning that this is the auspicious time that you and I are collaborating for different talks on our pages here, and that will build to the date of the cleanse that will lead into that special week for those who will want to do really a profound reset from the October 30th to November 5th. Yeah. So are you ready for the questions?
Oh, yeah, always.
Okay, so first, the first question is, how do we know, and I'll translate the question before you move into the answer, but how do we know when we have a burnout? Like what are the symptoms? How do we know for sure that we're having a burnout? So, elle va commencer par répondre en anglais, après je vais traduire. Comment sait-on, pour certains, au vu de l'Ayurveda, quand on est en présence d'un burnout?
Yeah, so burnout is something that's very common in today's world. Almost 90% of the people that I work with are women. Like I have a very women-centric practice, and at least 90% of them are in the burnout already. So when people come to me, the number one complaint they have is, I just have no energy. I'm extremely tired. I am fatigued. I am just so exhausted, but I just keep going, right? And it's hard for me to carry on this way. So women, because of the different conditionings that we go through, the different roles that we play, we keep pushing ourselves. But the first sign you will realize is that I am extremely tired. I'm extremely fatigued. There is this mental exhaustion. There is physical exhaustion. Mental exhaustion can be leading to increased irritability, or you don't want to do the things that you used to like. You have low motivation. The activities that you would do in the previous times, when you had good energy, now you don't want that. Even
hold on one second, Dan. Viens juste me voir 30 secondes, me donner ton cahier ici orange. Keep going. I'm sorry. Keep going. I want to make sure I have enough paper because I don't want to lose one thing in the translation.
Yeah.
I just made ton cahier orange. Merci. Keep going.
Yeah.
So you were saying, because I don't want to lose anything. It's so juicy. You were saying that the 90% of the women, because you have a woman-centered practice, 90% of the women, 90 out of those women have burnout, no energies, fatigue, exhausted, but they keep going anyway because of all the roles. And
because they don't take into account that burnout is real. Unfortunately, nobody knows burnout is a real thing. So even though they are irritated, they are overwhelmed, they just feel completely overwhelmed with day-to-day life. Sometimes, people are like, oh, I went through a divorce, 5 years ago. Now I have no problem in my life. I have a happy family. I have a new partner. Everything's perfect, but I just feel so exhausted physically, mentally. I am overwhelmed and there's no cause. But that is a sign that you are in the burnout. Any factor that's affecting your day-to-day life, your day-to-day task, your ability to get through those tasks is a sign you're burnout. Often mental signs can also be seen, that withdrawal, you don't want to meet your friends, you start bailing out on social situations or social engagements, that you used to love meeting your friends and now you just don't have the capacity to see anybody or deal with anything else. That is a mental sign of burnout. And then there are so many physical signs. Headaches could be a sign. Muscle tension, the jaw tightness, neck tightness, lower back pain, upper shoulder tightness, sleep-related disorders, often a weight gain, where you are losing the muscle mass, but you're gaining the body fat, is also a sign of burnout.
Correct. So losing the muscle and gaining fat, yes?
Yeah.
Okay, let me just translate that. Alors, j'ai demandé au docteur Nadkarni quels étaient les symptômes pour être certain qu'on était en présence ici d'un burn-out. Et elle mentionne qu'elle a une pratique très centrée sur les femmes. Et sa pratique, c'est 90% de femmes. Et de ces 90%-là de femmes, 90% sont en burn-out. Et elle disait, ils n'ont pas d'énergie, sont fatigués, sont exténués, mais elles continuent de faire les tâches, elles continuent leur journée et même mentalement exténuées. Et elles ne prennent pas en compte que le burn-out est réel, que l'épuisement est réel. Et elle va raconter à Dr. Nadkarni lors d'une rencontre médicale, j'ai eu un divorce il y a 5 ans et maintenant ça va bien, j'ai un nouveau partenaire, je suis en amour, j'ai une nouvelle vie, mais je suis épuisée. Et elles sont irritables, d'autres symptômes, sont incapables de faire les tâches qu'elles ont le goût de faire ou qu'elles sont devant elles, là, des tâches qu'elles se sont mises. Elles vont se retirer. Donc, avant, elle voyait des amis, elle aimait, c'est des femmes qui aimaient rencontrer des gens, sortir un peu. Là, elles n'ont plus du tout envie, elles se referment, elles se retirent, elles se tiennent à l'écart. Des maux de tête, la mâchoire tendue, les épaules tendues, beaucoup de stress au niveau du haut du corps, la prise de poids qui est involontaire, et le sommeil. Donc, on va perdre le muscle, on va gagner du poids et un sommeil qui n'est pas réparateur. Donc, so on sleeping, did you say they sleep more or they don't sleep well?
It can go either ways. For some people, they may sleep more in the terms of quantity, but you don't get restful sleep. You just have weird dreams, or you keep waking up in the middle of the night. Or you could struggle with sleeplessness where your mind just doesn't shut down. It keeps going on and you're unable to sleep.
So, alors, juste une précision sur le sommeil. Donc, ça pourrait être beaucoup de sommeil, mais il n'est pas réparateur, ou encore c'est un sommeil, mais il est agité avec beaucoup de rêves puis d'anxiété et voilà, et des nuits incomplètes. So, do you want to add something else on the symptoms, or do we go to the next questions?
No, symptoms, there are a variety of symptoms that you may not even think associated with burnout, because people, when they come to me, or women especially, they're really worried about their weight, right? So
Right.
you have gained weight and you feel weaker than before. So that's one sign that you have been in the burnout. A lot of the time, if you are going through menopause at the same time, or if you are above your 40s, the burnout, because it's stealing your hormones, you may suddenly start experiencing hot flashes, night sweats, a lot of the menopausal symptoms, but those could be related to depletion of hormones due to the burnout, and not a physiological time when you have to attain menopause. So early menopause could be another sign of burnout. Anxiety, depression often manifest at a time where you are going through burnout. So either they can trigger it, or they can move into like clinical anxiety or clinical depression, where you may need to take any herbs or medications, or simple supplements may not work at the time. So these are all complex symptoms of a burnout. um, People who go through trauma, if you have been through trauma, if you have been through PTSD, you are technically in a burnout phase.
So, yeah. So let me just make sure. I want to come back on the menopausal symptoms, because I want to clarify something to make sure I got it right. You said some women, they don't understand that they link it to hormonal disturbance, but sometimes the hot flashes, the night sweats, it's more about depletion and burnout than the hormonal factor. Is that accurate?
100%, yeah.
Okay.
So hormones are nourishing to the body. If you push and push yourself, in Ayurveda, we call it a state of vata aggravation. When the wind factor in the body aggravates, it's going to dry everything, including the hormones. And then the beneficial action of the hormones, an example is progesterone keeps you zen, keeps you calm and centered. But when you have a lot of stress going on, or you're pushing yourself, you are making another hormone called cortisol, which is required to carry you through stress. And your body is not going to make the progesterone, which is more for protective and reproductive function. So you end up making more stress hormones at the expense of your sex hormones, at the expense of your nourishing hormones, and you get into the burnout phase faster.
Perfect. Wow, that's amazing. That is amazing content, and that is such a great privilege to have you on and discuss this, because I find with women, we kind of too many times auto-analyze. Hold on. We too many times auto-analyze ourselves, and we pick this somewhere and that subject, and we intricate symptoms that are not the real symptoms. And for example, menopause and hormonal disturbance, every symptoms, every dis-ease has been put under that big umbrella in the past years. Mm-hmm. This is why I find our interview quite enriching today, because it's enlightening, because not everything derives from your hormones creating AVOC.
Yeah.
So I just find it very instructive.
And
so
sorry, I have to add that you also have to look at the root cause of what's causing the hormones to go out of balance. Yeah. If you focus on just building up those hormones synthetically, your stress is either ways depleting them, so it's like you're taking a pill to increase something and then you're decreasing it, right? So it's right. Never going to be balanced. So you have to look at the root cause, and that's exactly what Ayurveda does.
Yeah, exactly. And then, so let me just translate that. Alors, merci de votre patience dans la traduction, mais c'est tellement riche. Et j'expliquais au docteur Nadkarni que souvent, puis c'est notre cas en Occident, on va prendre la ménopause, puis on va tout mettre en dessous de ça, de ce parapluie-là, sans prendre le temps de dire un instant, c'est peut-être, faut arrêter de mélanger tous les symptômes ensemble, puis de prescrire une condition sans bien comprendre l'enjeu. Et elle expliquait que, entre autres, chez les femmes, on va avoir des chaleurs, on va avoir des sueurs nocturnes, puis les femmes vont dire tout de suite, oh, mais c'est ma ménopause, alors qu'on va être en présence d'un burnout et d'un épuisement. Et parfois, on peut même avoir une ménopause plus tôt à cause de l'épuisement. Ça peut dégénérer aussi en anxiété clinique. Et elle disait que si vous avez traversé un trauma et que vous avez du stress post-traumatique, alors forcément, cliniquement, vous êtes en burn-out. Et elle expliquait aussi une autre chose très intéressante. Elle disait que les hormones sont nourrissantes pour le corps de la femme. Mais quand la femme se pousse, puis continue d'en faire, alors l'Ayurveda mentionne qu'elle devient dans une condition qu'on appelle Vata. Donc, elle va tomber dans le dosha Vata va s'aggraver à l'intérieur d'elle. Et donc, les hormones de la progestérone qui gardent la femme centrée, qui sont là pour la garder calme, alors à ce moment-là, vont diminuer et on va avoir à la place une production d'hormones de cortisol, qui est l'hormone de stress. Et à ce moment-là, on va avoir une baisse des hormones qui devraient nous centrer et on va produire de plus en plus de cortisol. Et ça devient comme une spirale. Et l'autre chose aussi qu'elle mentionnait, les gens vont prendre des hormones synthétiques pour essayer de régulariser les hormones, mais vont continuer à en faire autant. Et alors, on va être dans un cercle vicieux qui n'aura rien réparé au fond. Et c'est ce que l'Ayurveda a fait, c'est d'enlever la cause racine de la problématique. Beautiful. So, anything else you wanted to add before we go into the 5 steps of burnout?
No, I think that's good. No, that's
Perfect.
good. Yeah.
Perfect. So, alors maintenant, ce que j'aimerais savoir du docteur Nadkarni, c'est quelles sont les 5 étapes de l'épuisement tel que le voit l'Ayurveda. So, je vais traduire tout de suite après. Donc, so talk to us about the 5 steps. How do we get into burnout according to Ayurveda?
So, according to Ayurveda, there are various stages of burnout. Burnout is always equated to what we call kshaya. Kshaya is where, there is a lot of depletion because of this vata, and actually more than, so all of the Ayurvedic fraternity is together in saying that, chronic depletion due to vata is the burnout phase, that kshaya phase. So when we look at the 5 stages of burnout, it's more from a modern perspective that I've seen. So the first phase, they call it the honeymoon phase. So just like, in your honeymoon, you have lots of energy, you have lots of optimism. So when you're starting with a burnout, initially it's, you will focus on, not having the energy with positivity that, yay, I can do that. You'll pat your own back and cheer yourself up. And you may have some projects that are going on which are very exciting, so you will be like, okay, I'm just going to hang on and get this done and everything's perfect. Then the second is when the onset of the stress phase, right? So when the honeymoon phase dwindles, you start experiencing stress that every second of your day may not always be stressful, but there will be times when the stress is taking over. Right. And when we talk about stress, again, there are physical aspects to the stress, there are mental aspects to the stress. So an example I can give you is, I deal with lots of clients having chronic health issues, chronic autoimmune conditions. In such a situation, the physical stress is the cause of the burnout. In some other situations where you go through life events like the loss of a person, you're going through a lot of grief, the mental aspect is going to take over of the stress. You may start losing the focus. You start worrying a lot more. The productivity is way less. You start feeling fatigued. The sleep is going to change. You may end up sleeping very less or too much, and you hardly have any time to enjoy your life, or you're just basically trying to be on the hamster wheel to finish all the tasks. So that's the second phase.
How do you call that phase?
So you call it the onset of stress phase. That's what they call it.
Okay.
So first is honeymoon, second is the onset of stress. The third is the chronic stress phase. So chronic stress phase is that the stress is constant.
Let me just translate
Sure.
the first and second step. So first step, to make sure it's the honeymoon, and then you're still optimistic, and you motivate yourself, and I can do this. And the second step is the onset of stress. And you say the steps were not taken from Ayurveda per se. They're taken from a modern perspective, correct?
Yeah, so they are like the stages from a modern psychological perspective that it was found in 1970s by an American psychologist called Herbert Freudenberger. So he talked about the burnout syndrome. He is the one who talked about these 5 stages happening one after the other. Yeah.
So so the stress starts to increase, and you have different doors leading to that step. It could come out of a physical condition that you have, like autoimmune. It could be that you lost someone, but also you will witness the hamster wheel and the sleep change, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, let me just translate that. I just want to make sure, because there's so many aspects and there's so many information. I really want to make sure that all of our crowd is getting it properly. It's so important. Alors, les 2 premières étapes, et les étapes du burnout, c'est selon une perspective moderne. Donc, ça a été en 1970, un médecin qui a découvert ces étapes-là. Je ne répéterai pas le nom, qui était assez compliqué, mais il a découvert ces étapes-là, et on va continuer par la suite par rapport à l'Ayurveda. Mais cette condition-là, ça s'appelle Kshaya en Ayurveda, et c'est l'aggravation du dosha Vata, quand c'est vu en Ayurveda, le burnout. Maintenant, les étapes conduisant au burnout, la première étape, on appelle ça la phase lune de miel. Donc, on est optimiste, on se motive, on dit, tu sais, je sens de l'épuisement, mais je vais persévérer, puis je suis capable, puis on se donne une tape dans le dos, puis on dit, ah ouais, let's go, puis tu vas y arriver. La deuxième étape, là, le stress commence à s'infiltrer. Et donc, le stress peut être causé d'une maladie auto-immune. Hein? Vous pourriez avoir une maladie auto-immune, et c'est votre mal-être physiquement qui bâtit ce stress-là. Vous pourriez avoir aussi, par exemple, quelque chose au niveau psychologique qui s'est passé, au niveau mental, et là, la perte d'un être cher, une période de deuil. Et là, ça va amener au burn-out aussi, donc ça pourrait être psychologique. Et vous allez commencer à remarquer aussi des changements au niveau de votre sommeil, et vous allez remarquer que dans votre tête, c'est un peu comme la roue du hamster, donc ça n'arrête pas de vouloir aller à la prochaine étape, puis comment je vais faire pour la prochaine chose, puis comment je vais faire pour la prochaine chose. Donc, yeah, do you want to go with step 3? The third phase?
Yeah, so the third phase of the burnout, so first you are in the honeymoon phase, then if that's, if your stress continues or whatever is going on in your life continues, you get into the onset of stress. Yeah. Now, third is the chronic stress phase. Here, the stress is very constant. All the time you are under the stress mode. It's going to start affecting your work. It's going to start affecting your family life. You may, feel that your assignments are not getting completed on time, or you're just procrastinating. When people say that I'm a procrastinator, you are in the chronic stress phase. That's why you are not able to do your tasks. And sometimes, people may become angry and lash out at others. Sometimes the anger can be self-directed. Sometimes the anger can be directed towards your family and friends. And, if they want to take you out somewhere, you may just be like, no, I don't have time for you, or you may be rude or short-tempered or snap at them. So that's the third stage, which is the chronic stress phase. Now, the fourth phase is actually the main burnout phase. Now, this is where you have completely reached your limit and you can't function in your normal capacity. So you are not going to be able to perform at your work. You are not going to be able to perform your day-to-day tasks. You just sometimes may feel emotionally numb. There may be a lot of self-doubt showing up as well. And you start developing a lot of intense emotions.
Give me just 1 second. I need to back up a little because I just want to make sure I don't lose any info. You said, what was the name of the fourth phase?
It's the main burnout phase. Burnout phase.
Burnout phase, correct?
Yeah.
So you reach your limit.
Yeah. And you can't function as you do normally.
Okay.
Right? So you are at a point where, your work kind of takes over your life. Maybe you just keep thinking about the problems or the stress that you have every moment of the time. And this makes you doubt yourself, so you start losing self-confidence. The stress starts chipping away at your self-confidence. And you will feel very numb as well emotionally, where you were feeling angry, agitated in the previous stage. Now you just feel frozen. You just don't have any emotions to spend as well. And here you may see a lot of the physical signs of stress manifest. You will see chronic headaches. You may see a lot of digestive issues, bloating or stomach pain. There are behavioral changes as well. A lot of withdrawal is seen here where you don't want to do anything with anyone. You just want to be left alone. So that's the proper burnout phase, So this phase indicates everything before this builds to the burnout, but this is the main burnout phase that your body, mind are now completely exhausted beyond a point.
Okay, and could we see at that stage, because I was wondering, while preparing our interview, I see the rise of addictions in the society right now and the rise of alcohol.
Yeah.
And would you see that at that point because people are trying to self-medicate?
Yeah, so you see that typically during the stage 3, which is the chronic stress phase, you don't have a lot of coping mechanisms, right? So from between 2 and 3, you start developing addictions. By 4, you may be into a full-blown addiction. And it could be related to alcohol. It could be social media as well. People want to numb themselves. And when they're too stressed, they can watch mindless things which don't take up a lot of their energy. Sometimes you watch things that make you feel better about yourself,
Yeah. So got it. But I was just laughing because I can see myself there sometimes, just watching something that is so nonsense, but just being riveting there. Yeah. So, okay. So let me just translate 3 and 4. Okay. Alors, donc, alors, ce que je veux, pour l'étape 3, Dr. Nadkarni mentionnait que on va être dans l'étape qui s'appelle le stress chronique. Et donc, on est à une étape qu'on pourrait manquer, parce que je lui demandais des addictions aussi, puis je lui demandais à quelles étapes on va retrouver des addictions, parce que je peux très bien voir qu'il y a une montée des addictions en ce moment dans la société, et notamment en ce qui concerne l'alcool. Et elle a dit à l'étape 3 du burn-out, les gens n'auront pas de mécanisme pour se sortir de là ou être capable d'être fonctionnel avec ce qui est en train de leur arriver. Donc, l'addiction va débuter souvent sous le stress à l'étape 3 du burn-out. Et donc, on va avoir un stress chronique qui est constant, qui va affecter la famille, qui va faire en sorte que vous allez procrastiner. Puis là, elle disait, les gens y arrivent, puis ils disent, ah, mais moi, je suis quelqu'un qui procrastine toujours. Puis elle disait, non, elle disait, le fait que tu te qualifies comme quelqu'un qui procrastine toujours m'indique à moi que tu es probablement dans une phase de burn-out. Sinon, tu auras envie d'aller faire tes tâches. Des colères, des explosions de colère sur les autres ou sur soi-même. Et donc, ça va conduire à la phase principale du burn-out, qui est la 4e et qui s'appelle la phase qui est la phase principale du burn-out. C'est comme ça que ça s'appelle. Et c'est la phase où on a atteint notre limite. On est incapable de fonctionner comme normalement. Le travail va en venir à prendre toute votre vie. Si vous êtes à cette étape-là, le stress va commencer à enlever votre confiance en vous et vous allez être par moments comme gelé, comme complètement engourdi, là, plus de son, plus d'image. Il va avoir des symptômes digestifs, il va avoir des ballonnements, il va avoir beaucoup aussi d'isolement. Beaucoup d'isolement, vous allez vouloir vous retirer. C'est pas juste, tu sais, c'est laissez-moi tranquille. On va avoir aussi, c'est ça, c'est là qu'on va voir aussi des addictions complètes, donc vraiment marquées. Et c'est pas juste sur l'alcool, hein. Elle mentionnait, elle dit, il y a beaucoup d'addictions en ce moment sur les médias sociaux. Les gens vont juste être cloués dans les médias sociaux à juste rester là pour regarder des choses insignifiantes pendant des heures. Alors, yeah, so do you want to continue to the 5th one?
Yeah, so the 5th one is that if you don't treat an actual burnout stage, it just progresses and now it's just a part of your everyday life. But you start developing significant mental symptoms, where you were angry, irritable, or had headaches. Now you have severe physical symptoms like severe digestive symptoms. You may develop diarrhea, constipation, cramping, or mentally you may experience lots of anxiety. You may experience panic attacks. You may experience a lot of depression, lots of work related stress. And at this phase, you cannot go on working, so your capacity to work is significantly affected. So even day-to-day activities, you are unable to carry those on. Your work, you start making a lot of mistakes, or you are just unable to carry on with your work, right? So this is the habitual burnout phase, that you are not taking the time. You just don't get off the hamster wheel, you're round and round and round. So someday you have to get off the hamster wheel, otherwise you are just burning yourself out. And from an Ayurveda perspective, burnout, rather than the 5 stages, we look at it from 3 different dosha perspectives. So somebody who is a Vata dominant person will develop. Yeah, you want to translate this part first? Okay.
Yeah, just so I don't lose anything.
Okay.
I'm going to translate the 5th step. Now, I just want to ask you, at the end, can I ask you a couple of questions?
Oh, for sure.
Because I know our fans will want a couple of questions maybe, so I'll question you afterwards. It's so rich. Okay, so let me just translate. 5e étape, là alors, si on ne traite pas à la 4e étape, là, les symptômes vont se développer. Alors, ça se peut qu'on ait des symptômes sévères psychologiques, donc de santé mentale. On va être en présence d'attaques de panique, de dépression. Il peut y avoir vraiment des désordres digestifs, la diarrhée, des erreurs au travail. Puis, si vous ne continuez pas de débarquer du manège, là, tu sais, c'est comme le manège à l'expo, puis ça tourne, puis on continue. Mais à un moment donné, vous allez être forcé de débarquer du manège. Et donc, là, on va aller du côté de l'Ayurveda et on va regarder the 3 strategies are based in Ayurveda, correct? Just so I finish the study. So, donc, on va regarder 3 stratégies du point de vue de l'Ayurveda, comment on met en œuvre pour sortir de l'épuisement naturellement et en finir avec ces étapes-là qu'on a nommées à partir d'une perspective moderne. Mais là, on va rentrer dans comment l'Ayurveda procède. So I'm just going to take a drink.
For sure.
So, okay. Now, I'd like to know, we are going on to the 3 strategies that, okay, so that was the modern perspective, correct?
Yeah.
And now we're going to look, what does Ayurveda say about this and how?
Yeah. So in Ayurveda, one of the reasons why we talk about doshas, we talk about the, dominance of wind in your personality, or the sun or the moon factor in the personality. So Vata, Pitta, Kapha, depending on what's dominant, also dictate your response to stress. And it also dictates what symptoms you will see in the burnout. So if somebody is Vata dominant, they are wired to keep going physically and mentally, right? So they are going to be in an extreme depletion state physically. They will start seeing signs like anxiety or panic attacks, dizziness. They will feel a lot of ungrounded in their body. They will feel forgetful, they will feel like they're getting lost. They are not sure what's going on. Physically, they may start seeing constipation in the body, gas, bloating. They will see that suddenly the skin is very dry, the skin is rough, the joints are cracking, they start feeling really cold. They start getting a lot of aches and pains in the body, and also a lot of tightness in the body.
Let me just, because I want to do each dosha separately and then I'll translate. So I want to make sure. So you're saying that each doshas, in Ayurveda, the way they resist to the burnout and how it's manifesting inside of them, it's according to their dosha.
The way they react to stress is according to the dosha. Yeah.
Okay. Don't. And then you said Vata is built to keep going.
Yeah.
Can you
so the wind, so when we look at Vata dosh, right, it's made up of space and air elements. When we go back to the 5 elements, so somebody who is a Vata dominant person is going to be very mentally busy. So they will have too many things going on in the mind. They will have too many projects on the go. They will physically also, they can't sit for a long time. They will be fidgeting, or they will be constantly doing something or out and about, right?
Yeah.
So if this person doesn't stop, they need rest, but they are constantly pushing and pushing, then they start developing Vata dominant signs like anxiety or depression or constipation and all of those. Okay. So your body type governs your stress response. The same dosha that's dominant often gets affected first. Typically, it's also Vata gets affected in all burnouts, but that cycle will keep continuing then.
But so let me get this straight before I translate. So that's why we say in Ayurveda, when there's a disease, we often look at Vata first, correct?
Yeah.
So you're going to do that in burnout too, yes?
Yeah.
Okay, and then you'll go to the dominant dosha.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, got it. And then, but when Vata is building a burnout, you're saying that it keeps going because it's naturally, it won't see it because it's used to moving so much.
It's a personality trait, right? So the doshas govern your personalities. So let me give you a small story, right? So
because I'm married to a Vata, by the way.
So if you look at the story of the tortoise and the hare, right, that we were taught as kids, that the hare kept jumping about. There was a race between the tortoise and the hare.
Yes.
And the hare is classical Vata. So they will jump about, they will go here and there, they will run fast. But because they don't have a lot of reserves of energy in the body, they will burn out fast too. right? So the hare will need to sleep. And the tortoise that is slow, it's steady, it doesn't need sleep, right? It will just keep continuing going on. And in the long term, the kaphas don't burn out as easily as a vata does, right?
Correct.
So a
Correct.
hare needs carrots to eat. A tortoise can live on lettuce leaves. A hare, I don't know what their lifespan is, but a tortoise literally lives 200 years,
Yeah,
right?
a hair is about like in nature about a year and a half or something.
Yeah.
So, okay, beautiful. Let me translate. Got it. Alors, premièrement, en Ayurveda, l'épuisement l'épuisement professionnel ou l'épuisement tout court va être regardé toujours en Ayurveda à travers, évidemment, la lentille des doshas. Donc, on va regarder typiquement le dosha dominant qui est votre personnalité, parce qu'on a les 3 doshas, mais il y a un dosha qui est dominant. Celui qui est dominant va nous indiquer votre résistance au stress et votre réponse au stress aussi. Donc, Vata, quand on retourne aux 5 éléments, c'est un dosha qui est composé de l'espace, hein, comme on sait, et de l'air. Et donc, Vata est habitué d'avoir plein de projets, est habitué de se déplacer beaucoup, est habitué d'en faire beaucoup, puis de ne pas être capable de rester en place. On assoit quelqu'un qui est Vata, là, puis après 5 minutes, il va repartir sur d'autres choses. Et donc, à cause de ça, Vata ne verra pas qu'il devrait se reposer ou ne verra pas qu'il commence à avoir du burnout qui s'installe. Et là, il va devenir non ancré. Il va commencer à se sentir perdu. Il va avoir même des symptômes digestifs, la constipation, des gaz. Les jointures vont craquer, la peau sèche, froid. Donc, c'est des gens qui vont commencer à avoir froid sous stress. Et également, elle racontait une petite histoire, puis elle disait la différence entre la course qu'on entendait quand on était petit entre un lièvre et une tortue. Bien, le lièvre, c'est la personnalité Vata. Il va sauter, il va partir vite dans la course, mais il va s'épuiser rapidement. Une tortue qu'on pourrait imager avec le dosha kapha, donc va vivre jusqu'à 200 ans, puis le lièvre en nature, il vit à peu près 1 an et demi. T'sais. Donc, alors c'est pour montrer comment Vata, il pense qu'il peut répondre au stress, il pense que c'est sa nature, il pense qu'il peut en faire autant que ça, mais non, il va en faire trop et il va tomber sous stress. Donc, sure, you want to go with Pitta?
Yeah. So when you start developing pitta imbalances, so for a pitta person, when stress happens, the vatas typically will run away, So we talk about the fight, flight, freeze response. Vatas are the ones to flight, or run away. Not face the problems or start being busy running, in response to stress. Pittas are more wired to the fight response, so they will fight it out. They will get angry. They will get irritated. Their body temperature will increase. They may start getting headaches or rashes or a lot of muscle tightness as well. You can also see inflammation. Sometimes the anger response will also increase the digestive fire, and then they will be constantly hungry and not be satiated at all, so that can happen. They may develop a lot of thirst. They may develop a lot of inflammation in the body. So that's the classical of a pitta body type as well as a pitta response to stress. Early graying of hair is another sign, so pittas are when excess pitta heat will go to the head region, you will start noticing early graying of hair. So a pitta dominant prakriti, often because of how fiery they are, how angry, irritable they can be, they may have had gray hair into their 20s. My own hair started graying, right? I had a few gray hair in my 20s. And by the time, you are in your 40s, you may start developing more and more gray hair, So that's also a sign. But Pittas are like warrior spirit. They don't want to give up. They don't want to bend down to whatever situation has, taken over. They will give up, like they won't give up easily. They will give their best shot, and they push and push in the form of the fight. They put up a good fight, but they may not always win that fight.
But in the fight, flight, or freeze, you're saying they're fight, yes?
Or fight, yeah.
Okay, got it. And then one quick question before I translate. Would it be accurate for me to say that a Pitta dominant Prakriti person, that they when they go into menopause is a lot harder for them?
It can be for all three doshas if the doshas are out of balance at the time. But the hot flashes, night sweats, because those are also pitta related signs of the liver, they are going to be way more pronounced, right? So a vata menopause may look more like anxiety dominant, weight loss, dryness of skin. A pitta dominant is going to be lots of irritation, anger, frustration, heat in the body, hot flashes. You're soaked at night, you wake up, you have to change the sheets at night because of how drenched you are in your sweat. So
but let me just precise one thing. I get it, and I will translate that because it's so interesting. And I know we're outside of the questions of the interview, but I just wanted to say, when a woman is at work between her 20s and her 50s, approximately, usually that's the Pitta season.
Yeah.
And it's considered in Ayurveda where you're productive and you're building your wealth and your life and your career. And then typically around 50, the woman gets into menopause, she will go into the Vata season, and she should do the transition. But I was under the impression that all of the women on earth right now have carried their Pitta and the season into the Vata season. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, see, we live in a world that's Vata deranged because of how many demands are there.
Yeah.
And a woman, I have often seen that because you are, see, it was very different in the previous days, now you're literally like the goddess with 10 hands, one hand you're trying to manage your home, the other hand you're, and most goddesses have million hands. Some gods do have a lot of hands in the Hindu culture, but you'll often see goddesses multitasking all the time, right? So she has this sword in one hand and then something protective, nourishing in the other hand. So I think as women, we are pushing ourselves, somehow there is a gender comparison as well, that we have to perform either as better as men or even better than that. And that can lead to anger related feelings as well. And the comparison is not fair because we are just differently built. You cannot compare apples and oranges. Those are completely two different things. So again, when we look at the pitta, why the pitta aggravation happens is, you look at most workplaces, they are dominant in men, as much as we like to say, so there's this fiery men energy, and then you're trying to compete, you're trying to prove a point, especially in the corporate sector, right? Which, though they're saying, we have a lot of women in the workforce, maybe not as compared to the men, right? So then you are constantly like dealing with those harsh pitta related emotions and throwing both the doshas out of balance.
Yeah, correct. So let me translate that. Very, very interesting. Thank you for that. Alors, donc, maintenant, quand le dosha Pitta, lui, va rencontrer de l'épuisement, en fait, elle expliquait que Pitta, dans les réponses qui est de se battre ou de fuir ou de geler, vous savez, les réponses de combat qu'on a l'habitude d'expliquer quand on parle des réactions du corps face à un danger. Elle disait que Pitta est comme, la personnalité Pitta est comme un excellent soldat qui va donner un bon combat, qui va livrer un bon combat, mais qui arrive devant le stress ou devant trop de tâches ou trop à faire, ou même devant le burn-out ou les symptômes, en voulant livrer une bonne bataille à ça. Je vais me battre ou je vais résister à ça. Mais il va pousser et parfois, ben, le pitta perd la bataille. Et elle disait que la personne pitta, les symptômes du stress va se fâcher, la température du corps va augmenter, les éruptions cutanées vont se produire et le feu digestif va ressentir cette augmentation-là du métabolisme et de la transformation et la personne pitta va être constamment affamée. Elle va constamment avoir faim et c'est un cas d'inflammation classique qui va se produire. Et même, on va voir le grisonnement des cheveux aussitôt que l'âge de 20 ans. Alors, et ça va être dû au stress et ça va être dû à des symptômes de burn-out. Alors, donc voilà, c'est très intéressant. I'll let you keep going on.
Yeah, so then we talk about the kapha stress response, right? So we talk that the vatas will, run away or flight is their response. Pittas is the fight response, which is like you take a sword and fight it out. And kapha response is, you just freeze. You're like a deer in front of the headlights.
Yes.
This is my own stress response, right? When I get too stressed, you will find me in my bed with the sheets on my head, and I just want to relax and I want to do nothing with the world, So I just kind of like a tortoise just withdraws into its shell, right?
Yeah.
So that's exactly what a kapha response looks like. They just freeze. They just want to protect their energies and they just completely withdraw from the external world. And often what that would mean is, you would stop working out, you would stop, so the stress response would see like, oh, I'm only going to focus on the essentials, but I'm not going to work out or exercise or walk. And I just sit for a long time and focus on whatever mental work that is easily I'm wired to do as much as I can do it. You will start feeling sluggish. You will start gaining weight. You will have difficult, waking up in the morning. You may sleep 10 to 12 hours, but you're not going to feel rested. You may start feeling very attached to the things that you have or emotional to the thing that you have, So kapha is almost like a glue, and you can get glued to your chair or your couch or your, whatever is your comfort zone. You are just going to cling to it in stress.
And that's funny. I think that's really funny. Okay. Would kapha usually don't have depression? They go into melancholy. Would we see melancholy coming in?
Melancholy or even depression. Kapha depression is actually pretty common.
Okay.
Yeah.
So associating depression, more the crash and burn depression to vata.
Vata is typically anxiety. It can go on between anxiety and depression as well. Kaphas sometimes can also show up. It can show up as melancholy, sadness. There is absolutely no cause. You may feel mentally bogged down, just heavy. You have this dark cloud of heaviness around you. You're carrying the weight of the world. Is what it feels like, or you just feel heavy, bogged down. You don't feel like moving. You feel frozen, you just feel like numb. So these are all classical kapha related burnout symptoms.
Got it. So do you want me to translate?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. Alors, pour le dosha, donc on a vu qu'au niveau du burn-out, vata va être le type à fuir puis à vouloir, au niveau du vata, il va vouloir, il va être comme perdu, il va vouloir se retirer. Pitta va vouloir livrer un combat en termes de réponse au stress. Et kapha, lui, va geler. Donc, kapha, lui, il va rentrer dans sa coquille, il va être comme une tortue, il va vouloir protéger son énergie, il va, par exemple, arrêter de s'entraîner, il n'ira plus au gym, il va vouloir juste focuser sur l'essentiel. Donc, je vais essayer de me concentrer juste sur l'essentiel et ça va être le genre, elle disait, docteur Nadkarni, elle disait, moi, c'est mon type. Et elle dit, moi, je vais aller dans ma chambre, je vais mettre les couvertes par-dessus la tête et je vais pas rien vouloir savoir puis vouloir rester là et juste essayer de me calmer. Donc, ça se peut que vous vous sentiez lourd et pas d'énergie et vous traînez les pieds, vous allez prendre du poids. Et votre réponse au stress, quand on est CAFA, ça se peut que vous dormiez 10-12 heures, mais vous ne serez toujours pas reposé. Et elle disait que CAFA, sa réponse au stress, c'est un peu comme de la colle. Ce qui vous rapporte du réconfort, là, vous allez rester collé dessus. Ça se peut qu'il y ait la tristesse. C'est comme un nuage noir qui vous suit, la tristesse, la mélancolie juste noir, tu sais, donc plus noir, plus ce type-là d'état dépressif. So, yeah, I'll let you continue.
Yeah, so it's extremely important to identify these signs in yourself, whether you're losing the sleep, whether you're having those angry emotions or you're getting bitter towards life. That's also a very pitta thing. Or you just feel super lethargic, not wanting to do anything, that's more kapha related, not wanting to move, or your daily movements are impacted as well. So number one thing always is, take into account your symptoms and really try to understand what's going on with you. We were talking a little bit about hormones, but interestingly, hormonal imbalances are the step 2 of the burnout, right? Often your body has a system called the sympathetic system that is responsible for the fight, flight, as well as freeze. Then there is the rest digest system known as parasympathetic system. So if you are perpetually caught up in this fight, flight mode, your body thinks, survival is necessary. It is going to just send all your digestive energy towards your circulation. So your digestion takes a back seat, your hormonal production takes a back seat, and all it focuses on is just getting through the situation, making sure you're surviving, because your mind is unable to distinguish whether a assignment at work which is challenging is not a life-threatening situation. We often our body perceives everything as life-threatening, right? A disagreement at work or an assignment which looks way bigger than we can handle is not a threat to my life, but my body perceives it as a threat to my life, and it activates the stress system, and that's taking away from the resting system, that's taking away from the digestive system. If my digestion weakens, whatever I'm eating is not getting transformed into my muscles, my tissues, my hormones. And this is exactly how that stress cycle leads to depletion.
That is the path.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. It's a very, very interestingly explained by Ayurveda and by you amazingly explained.
Oh,
this is
you.
not this is not what you see in our in the West. This is not, you will see the burnout. I've never understand it explained, linked that directly to digestion ever.
Yeah, and in Ayurveda, we say that digestion is the core of everything, right? So anything that's impacting the digestion is going to further create that problem.
But burnout is so it's so ingrained in our mind that it's a separate thing.
Yeah.
And it's not linked to anything else. Oh, I've got burnout, and it's a standalone disease. Do you understand what I'm saying?
That, and I also am kind of saddened that we wear busyness as a medal today, or burnout as a medal today, that rather than experiencing a happy, nourishing, full life, I'm only equating myself to my achievements on paper, or in terms of work, or in terms of the external, sometimes for some people, it could be the social media likes. For some people, it could be the feedback at work, right? But you have to look at your life about what it is for you, what's nourishing your life. Work is a part of your life. Relationships are definitely a part of your life. Your relationship with yourself is also a part of your life, right? Sleep is a necessity of your life. So you look at your life in terms of the happiness, the joy of what things are bringing in, rather than just the accomplishments that, some random standard somebody has set for us,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Let me just translate. Donc, alors, c'est extrêmement important. Merci beaucoup de votre patience dans les échanges. C'est extrêmement important en ce moment, si c'est vous, si ça vous parle, d'identifier les signes et d'essayer de comprendre qu'est-ce qui se passe avec vous. Donc, des fois, d'avoir un journal, des fois, de prendre des moments dans la journée, d'essayer de voir c'est quoi mes symptômes. Tantôt, on a parlé de déséquilibre hormonal. Bien, il faut comprendre que le déséquilibre hormonal, c'est l'étape 2 du burnout. Et selon l'Ayurveda, donc on a un système sympathique qui est en charge de notre réponse face à un danger, donc fuir ou combattre. Et ce qui se passe dans le burnout, c'est que quand on est à cet endroit-là et qu'on pense qu'on est devant un danger, donc par exemple, elle disait, c'est ta tâche au bureau là, ou ton travail, c'est pas un danger pour ta vie. Mais à quelque part, ton corps l'a perçu comme ça ou toi, tu le perçois comme ça. Et donc, tu actives ton système sympathique et ta digestion, à ce moment-là, ton corps va mettre tout l'accent sur ta circulation sanguine, mais il va mettre ta digestion sur le banc d'en arrière. Et donc, et si ta digestion diminue et s'en va sur le banc d'en arrière, alors à ce moment-là, même si tu manges de la bonne nourriture, tu n'assimiles pas les aliments. Et donc, si tu n'assimiles pas les aliments, tu ne produiras pas les hormones suffisamment, tu ne produiras pas ni de la bonne qualité non plus d'ailleurs, tu ne produiras pas des tissus, tous tes tissus n'ont plus de bonne qualité et en quantité, de meilleure quantité. Donc, alors c'est tout ça qui crée la situation. Et elle disait, entre autres, ce qui m'attriste le plus, c'est que dans notre société, on donne une médaille au fait d'être occupé. C'est hot d'être occupé, c'est in d'être occupé, alors qu'on devrait donner une médaille sur ce qui nourrit notre vie. Qu'est-ce qui nourrit votre vie? Qu'est-ce qui est nourrissant pour vous? D'où vient votre joie dans votre vie? Au lieu d'essayer de rencontrer un standard qui a été aléatoirement mis par quelqu'un à quelque part, mais qui ne correspond pas à ce qui vous nourrit, vous, et votre vie doit être nourrissante à tout point de vue. So, do you want to talk about the strategies now?
Yeah. So number one strategy when you are in the burnout is you have to slow down, right? You have to
You're saying that to a pita girl. Say it again.
You have to slow down. And I have been guilty of that too, because I think I get away because my kapha dominant body, I know I'm not going to burn out that easily, right?
Yeah.
And mentally, I can be very passionate about different things. So pitta drives me a lot too.
Yeah.
But the fact is that when you are in the burnout phase, you just have to do the bare minimum and give yourself the permission to not do the things that are not a priority at the time. I was talking to somebody yesterday in my clinic, one of my clients, and she works like 10 hours a day minimum, sometimes more. Then she cleans, right? And the one thing I told her that nobody died because of an unclean house, right? So people have had problems with overworking, where they're burning their body out. But just because your house is a bit messy doesn't mean it's the end of the world for you, right? So negotiate what's a priority for you. And if your work is a priority, sometimes in times which can be challenging, you have to show up to work, but then let some of the other things take a back seat. You don't have to do everything in that one day, right? So set a schedule, focus on the three main things that you need to get done. And out of those three main things that you need to get done, make one about yourself. whether it's grabbing a cup of coffee, not coffee, sorry, tea, whether it's grabbing some extra sleep, an hour of extra rest, whether it's just sitting down, in your lunch break, rather than just a 5-minute sitting down on your desk, you can take one hand on your heart, one on the belly, and just do some deep breathing, right? And grounding yourself. So it can be simple, but number one is to slow down and focus on the priorities, what needs to be done, and then everything that is not a priority has to take a back seat.
Yeah. And
So,
I need to share with you a story. Can I? Just a quick story.
Yeah.
I was with, after giving birth to my son, I was 40 and I had a burnout. And because I had PTSD. And it's a long story, but I won't get into that. But I just want to say, and perfectionism was one of my big things. That was my cause of burning out. And so my psychologist at the time, just a quick caveat, I said, it was fall. And I was telling her, I said, well, we did not pick up all the leaves. And I like the outside of my house, like really super clean. And we're on the curb and, and I like the Pinterest thing. And so she said, I want you to do an exercise for next week. And I said, oh yeah, what's that? And she said, you're going to be able to sit on the couch, look by the window, look at all those leaves. But until you come back and see me next week, you cannot pick one leaf up. That was the most excruciating week. I did it because I had no energy anyway. I couldn't do anything. I was really sad because I hadn't listened up to there. I had to go down that road to really let go of perfectionism.
Yeah.
But that was very difficult. That was wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And see, one thing I want to talk about Pitta perfectionism is that, a Pitta person always holds themselves up to unrealistic standards, right? So I am a Kapha body type, but from an emotional, mental perspective, I'm very sharp, Pitta, fiery energy. I look very calm and zen, but those who know me really well.
You don't show that at all. You look really cool and chill.
Yeah. So those who know me well know that when it comes to cooking or anything, it has to be exactly the way it's supposed to be. And I think I get it from my mom, where even the prayers, everything has to be a certain way. 80-20 doesn't work, a rule. It has to be the 100%, right? But I had to learn the hard way myself too, that, your high standards are very unrealistic. And the one thing I tell most Pittas is, your good enough is way better than amazing for most other dosha types, So even if you give them something that's good enough for you, which may not be the best thing, right? But it's still going to be so much more than they have seen, that they have experienced. And I have learned to practice that sometimes, when you have too many things going, just getting the basics done is more important than getting those 100% perfect points on everything.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, but we thank mom because look where it got you.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Yeah, just because we're outside of Pitcher Paksha, and we just want to thank your ancestors because
I thank both my genetics for everything. My dad, mom, both were like Pittas. My dad was a Pitta Kapha, mom was a Pitta Kapha too.
Wow.
Both were, Pittas, and a lot of their personality traits I've inherited from both,
But it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It got you all those diplomas, and we're so happy that you did all those studies. So let me just translate. Alors, la première stratégie, c'est avec l'Ayurveda et le burnout, c'est de faire le minimum. Et vous allez voir où c'est intéressant. Donc, de vous donner la permission d'en faire moins. Et elle expliquait que la semaine passée, elle avait une cliente en consultation dans sa clinique et la cliente lui expliquait qu'elle travaille 10-12 heures par jour. Puis là, elle arrive à la maison, puis elle nettoie, puis elle nettoie, puis elle ramasse. Et elle disait donc, alors à ce moment-là, si c'est vous, vous allez y aller avec, focuser sur 3 priorités seulement et laisser faire le reste. Et le reste ira au lendemain. Et de ces 3 priorités-là, vous allez en garder une pour vous. Donc, que ce soit un moment avec une tisane, que ce soit si vous êtes au bureau, elle disait de mettre une main sur le cœur, une main sur le ventre et donner la permission de prendre des respirations conscientes. Et donc, vraiment, c'est vraiment la première des stratégies la plus puissante. Vous n'avez pas le choix, vous êtes obligé de ralentir. Et je lui expliquais que, je vous traduis la petite histoire que je lui expliquais. J'ai eu mon fils à 40 ans et j'avais un symptôme de post-traumatique. Et on en a parlé tantôt des traumas et donc j'étais en épuisement. Et un des devoirs que ma psychologue m'avait donné à l'époque, parce que j'étais très perfectionniste. Et elle expliquait que ça, c'est un trait typique chez les Pitta notamment, d'avoir des standards irréalistes. Et donc, alors moi, j'étais très, à l'époque, perfectionniste et j'aimais beaucoup tout ce qui était Pinterest et je voulais ma maison Pinterest avec le terrain à l'automne Pinterest et il y avait plein de feuilles comme derrière moi. Et ma psychologue à l'époque m'avait dit, Marie-Hélène, on va jouer à un jeu. Cette semaine, tu vas avoir le droit de t'asseoir à la fenêtre, d'être sur le divan, de regarder dehors toutes les feuilles, mais tu n'auras pas le droit d'en ramasser une jusqu'à temps que tu viennes me revoir la semaine prochaine. Et j'en ris aujourd'hui, mais ça a été extrêmement difficile. C'était douloureux. Et c'était très douloureux et il faut comprendre que ça m'a fait travailler énormément le perfectionnisme. Aujourd'hui, j'en suis heureuse d'avoir lâché beaucoup de ça. Donc, voilà, c'est un exemple. Do you want to go with the second strategy?
Yeah, so the second strategy is, we talk about the 3 pillars of health in Ayurveda, and I want you to focus on 3 pillars. So it's one strategy that targets 3 things. One is the diet.
Yeah.
The second one is going to be the sleep.
Yeah.
And the third one is going to be managing your energy.
Yeah.
Right? So always, when you have to make sure that you are at least putting some food in your body. Often people are too tired to eat when they are in the burnout phase. They just want to either sleep or rest, but not nourish themselves. But food is a priority because that is the way you're going to build up your body. So food, definitely. Sleep, getting restful sleep, not just lying in bed thinking about everything happening out in the world, but getting that restful sleep is going to be important. And the third one is managing your energy, that where are you engaging yourself mentally? Where are you engaging yourself physically, right? So that's going to be extremely important. And whenever we look at the 3 pillars of health, from a burnout perspective, we always look at it from a vata balancing perspective. So in the burnout, from a dosha perspective, you will typically see vata and pitta aggravation. So they have increased so much that they are creating those hot, bitter emotions. They are creating that dryness in the body, that extreme depletion, that inflammation. And you will see that kapha has lowered, the vitality has lowered as well. Often the ojas or the vital essence is lowered. So we look at balancing both vata and pitta through the diet, through your sleep or getting enough restful sleep, and through your lifestyle as well.
So let me just see. And by the way, quick question. In the school that I'm doing my classes now for so many years, I have still so many years to do. But the third pillar, they don't call it managing your energy. They call it your sexuality.
Sexuality for sure. So brahmacharya is, There are different translations that different people will give for it, right?
But would you put that in there too? That was my question. Would you say
you can manage it? See, sexual energy is the most potent form of energy because that energy is used for reproduction, right? Also, sex, the act itself takes up a lot of your energy, right? Because it's involving your hormones and everything. And if you hardly have physical energy you can't even eat, like you don't have the energy for sex for sure. But yeah.
In a burnout, would you say to one of your clients, like, no sex for 90 days? Would you say that?
I don't say that, because you may not want to be sexual, but you may still want to get that cuddle or, however it works. Like, I don't know what their personal situation is like. So I tell them to manage their energy, right? So often when women come to me in burnout, one of their complaints is already low libido. I don't feel like having sex. Or I'm feeling extremely dry, or my partner is not too happy because I'm avoiding this topic. And I have to tell them that, hello, you are in the burnout. You don't have energy for day-to-day activities.
Because they don't associate that. They don't necessarily say low libido or dryness. They almost normalize that, don't you find?
And see, the Western medicine has a way of segregating everything. Hormones. Oh, this is a hormonal thing. Oh, this is a digestive thing, right? But your body, everything is together. It's working together. It's not like hormones don't jump out of nowhere, they are in the body. What you eat is supporting the production of hormones, right? So brahmacharya, some people will call it the routine of Brahma, where when it's time to wake up, you wake up. When you're hungry, you eat. When it's time to sleep. So that's one school of thought. The other talks about sexual energy. The general idea I give is management of the energy, like the engaging your mind, engaging your, senses as well, right? Because in today's world, like the social media, for example, that drains a lot of your energy. That creates a lot of emotional conflict, when you are feeling tired and exhausted, and then you see a video of somebody having the cleanest house out there, that is going to bring up a lot of emotions, a lot of anger, irritation. So, manage your mental energy.
Especially when the house is clean, but the hair is beautiful and the makeup is done.
Oh, totally.
Okay, so, but I want to get back to one thing you said before I translate. You said, when we're looking at the burnout, we're looking at the 3 pillars, but we're going to like jump onto Vata and Pitta diet first, correct?
Yeah. So because Vata, Pitta, balancing diet is the nourishing diet, right? So when you want to nourish your body, whenever we look at vegetables, fruits, we look at root vegetables, everything in the fall season, right?
Yes.
The pumpkins and the sweet potatoes and different kinds of acorn squashes, root vegetables, parsnips, carrots, beets, apples, so these are all Vata balancing and also Pitta balancing.
Correct.
Yeah. So, and those are the most. Yeah.
Because it starts by the idea that Vata is way in there.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. Yeah. So Vata is dominant in the environment. So we do the opposites to balance. So if your Vata is high, you are going to use foods having the opposite qualities to Vata to balance. The same with Pitta. Opposites will balance. Yeah.
Perfect. So I'll translate that. And and because too much was done. There was too much movement, too much going around, too much pushing and energy. And that air and that movement is Vata.
Yeah.
So OK. So, alors, donc, la deuxième stratégie pour régler le burn-out au niveau de l'Ayurveda, c'est les 3 piliers qui sont la base en Ayurveda, les 3 piliers de la santé. Donc, on va avoir la diète, on va avoir le sommeil et on va avoir gérer son énergie. Et moi, je lui disais, mais gérer son énergie, moi, à mon école, le 3e pilier de la santé, je l'ai appris comme la sexualité. parce que à mon école, il est enseigné comme ça, puis elle explique qu'il y a différentes écoles de pensée, mais typiquement, les femmes vont venir la voir à la clinique puis vont se dire « Ah, j'ai pas beaucoup de libido » ou je souffre de sécheresse vaginale. Puis juste une parenthèse qui est importante pour nous, les femmes, là, en haut de 40 ans, entre autres, vont voir ça comme des phénomènes séparés alors que il va avoir, c'est un des symptômes de l'épuisement et du burnout. Et donc, elle va dire, souvent quand on est en burn-out, on n'a pas l'énergie pour se faire à manger ou on ne mangera pas parce qu'il y a trop de fatigue. Puis elle dit, oui, elle dit, là, il va falloir vraiment concentrer sur le fait de se nourrir puis bien manger, d'avoir un sommeil qui est réparateur et de gérer son énergie. Donc, pas juste se coucher puis penser aux problèmes du monde, mais vraiment un sommeil qui est réparateur et de gérer son énergie. Et elle disait de vraiment commencer à porter votre attention sur quoi vous engagez votre énergie physiquement, mentalement. Puis elle disait, les réseaux sociaux peuvent épuiser énormément, puis les gens ne s'en rendent pas compte. Et donc, la première des choses au niveau de la diète, on va aller mettre une diète qui va équilibrer Vata et Pitta. En passant, ça se trouve en ligne, vous pouvez chercher ça, mais une diète Vata et Pitta. Donc, tout ce qui se trouve aussi à l'automne, c'est de la nourriture qui est nourrissante à l'automne et qui est très bonne pour Vata, Pitta, que ce soit les courges, les pommes, les légumes racines. Alors voilà, les grains entiers aussi. Donc, c'est certains grains pour garder dans les diètes, mais c'est une façon de commencer à récupérer. So, we can go into the third strategy.
Yeah, so the third strategy is especially for all the women there that learn to say no, right? When you say no to things that, are not aligned with you, you are 100% saying yes to yourself, right? But often I will see that, women, when they are going through the burnout, they will still do whatever it takes when others ask them to do. I knew somebody who was burning out, but she would still babysit her grandkids and then, every single day, and then try to do everything that was required, clean her own house, do this, do that, because she had always done it for years, right? But sometimes you have to say no, as hard or harsh as it may seem. You may have to say no to others to say yes to your own self, right? So you have to cultivate a space whenever you are looking at your own nourishment. You will require to set aside a certain time, a certain amount of energy that you redirect towards your own healing. So if you are saying yes to every engagement out there, everything that everybody wants you to do, you are on everybody's agenda list, you are not going to focus that energy, that time on your own healing, right? And chronic burnout is not a nice place to be. You are going to get earlier into menopause. You are going to lose a lot of your vital tissues like your muscle mass, your bone tissue. You are going to then lower your immunity, start catching all the infections out there. So these are chronic effects of the burnout phase, that you have been in the burnout for a long time. You have not taken care to recover. And now you're losing your hair, you're losing your mind, you just feel completely unsettled. So these are very simple and practical strategies. I can give you all the textbook strategies, but even if you focus on these three strategies, you will notice that you will be able to successfully get out of the burnout phase, right? So, yeah.
Beautiful. So let me just translate that. And then if we can just maybe say a few words about the upcoming cleans, that would be fantastic. Yeah. Because I thought I would have questions, but it's so far so good.
Yeah.
Alors, la troisième stratégie pour passer naturellement par-dessus un burn-out, c'est d'apprendre à dire non. Et elle disait que chaque fois que tu refuses de faire des choses qui ne sont pas alignées avec toi, tu te dis oui à toi. Et donc, elle expliquait à une cliente, puis je pense que plusieurs parmi vous allaient raisonner à ce que je vais dire. Il y avait une cliente qui était fatiguée. Puis, elle gardait ses petits-enfants pareils à tous les jours. Puis, elle essayait de tout bien faire ce qu'il y avait à faire. Puis, elle ne pouvait pas dire non. C'était ses petits-enfants. Donc, elle continuait de les garder même en étant épuisée. Et elle disait, tu es obligé, aussi difficile que ce soit, aussi bête que ça peut paraître, aussi inconsidéré que ça peut paraître aux yeux des autres, si tu es toujours dans les affaires des autres, tu es en train de te dire non à toi. Si tu es toujours dans l'agenda des autres, puis t'occuper des affaires des autres, tu es en train de te dire non à toi. Et tu dois apprendre à te créer un espace pour ta guérison à toi et être dans un burn-out chronique. Elle dit que ce n'est pas une place intéressante à être parce que ça amène une ménopause qui est plus tôt, ça amène une perte de muscle, ça diminue l'immunité, ça attrape toutes les infections qui se promènent et c'est des trucs qui sont simples, mais c'est juste ces trois stratégies-là, si vous les faites, vous allez vous relever d'un burn-out naturellement. Alors, on va parler un peu de l'offre qui s'en vient du Cleanse Ayurvedique dans lequel je serai là comme participante et j'espère qu'on aura l'occasion d'échanger avec certaines d'entre vous, que j'aurai l'occasion de participer avec certaines d'entre vous. Donc, c'est du 30 octobre au 5 novembre, mais je vais laisser Dr. Nadkarni en parler. Donc, can we talk about the cleanse? Do you want to state
Yeah,
what is
so that's the most exciting part because this is my third year hosting the Ayurveda Autumn Reset. I have hosted 2 of the spring resets. I couldn't do this spring because I was burnt out. I knew I needed to take the time off. So I didn't really host the spring reset this year, but the autumn I've hosted it every year. And it is something, that will be in English. We cleanse in a private group on Facebook. If you're not on Facebook, you will still get all the materials, all the video, but for 7 days, we set time for ourselves. I will create delicious Vata Pitta balancing recipes for you. So, and you have lots of options. So breakfast, you will have 5-6 options, lunch, dinner, snack recipes. There are lots of options. You will get a workbook to track where you are, what symptoms are you having? And then you track it on day 1, you track on day 4, you track on day 7. So you know exactly where you're going. And in a private group, every morning I will show up and every evening I will show up. This year, we are going to talk about heavy emotions, how to let them go, but from a gentle body movement perspective, because a lot of our emotions get stuck in the body. And that is when you start noticing tight jaw or, neck tightness or stiffness in your back. So the 7-day cleanse is, we show up in the group every day. I already have, I think, about 12 people signed up for it. Usually it's a group of about 30 people that will do the cleanse together. And it's a wonderful energy. So everybody cooks delicious food, I believe that food should always be delicious. It should engage your senses. It should make you happy. And it should nourish you. And that is exactly what we do in the cleanse. So lots of sweet potatoes, squashes, all these nourishing foods, lots of self-care. You will learn about Ayurvedic self-care. You will learn about how to get out of the burnout. And you will be in a community of like-minded women who are on a similar path. You can ask me any questions. Every morning I talk about a subject, and in the afternoons, I will show up again and answer any questions that you have. So you get me with you for 7 days, whatever your questions are, I'm always there to answer.
Oh, it's amazing. And okay, do you want me to translate that? I will. Yeah, because some people might be fluent but not get everything. OK, donc le cleanse. Alors, c'est la 3e année que Dr. Nadkarni va faire ce cleanse-là ayurvédique d'automne en ligne. Le dernier printemps, cette année, au printemps 2023, elle ne l'a pas fait parce qu'elle fait toujours automne et printemps, parce qu'elle réalisait elle-même qu'elle avait besoin de se reposer, qu'elle était épuisée. Donc, c'est en anglais. Alors, on vous invite, pour le moment, cette fois-ci, c'est en anglais seulement. Je le traduis parce que certains d'entre vous pourraient être bilingues, mais perdre certains mots. Là, donc, je vais juste... c'est dans un groupe privé Facebook, mais même si vous n'êtes pas sur Facebook, vous allez recevoir tout le matériel. Vous pourriez être avec quelqu'un qui parle anglais, puis pas vous. Sûrement qu'il y aurait moyen de vous organiser, mais c'est une magnifique opportunité. C'est 7 jours de temps et vous allez recevoir des recettes ayurvédiques. Puis pour chaque repas de la journée, il va y avoir plusieurs options. Il va y avoir aussi un cahier de participants et vous allez prendre la mesure journée 1, 4 et 7 où vous en êtes. Donc, vous allez savoir exactement où vous êtes durant le Cleanse. Docteur Nadkarni va être avec nous le matin et le soir. Elle va se présenter. Donc, le matin, elle va donner certaines consignes et le soir, elle va répondre aussi aux questions qu'on va pouvoir avoir posées durant la journée. Elle va répondre à toutes nos questions. On va aussi regarder durant ce cleanse-là les émotions difficiles qu'on peut être en train de ressentir et on va adresser ça aussi, le côté émotionnel de ce que nous vivons. Et typiquement, c'est un groupe de 30 personnes, il y en a déjà une douzaine enregistrées. Et c'est un groupe qui est plein d'énergie, qui est positif parce que c'est des femmes toutes sur le même chemin. Et elles croient que la nourriture doit être quelque chose qui nous rend heureux, qui doit être délicieuse, qui doit être, qu'on est toujours content de manger. Donc, ça va prendre une partie du cleanse. Également, on va être introduit au self-care ayurvédique. Et ça résume pas mal ce que c'est. Tell us the price, please.
Yeah, so it's 199 Canadian,
Yeah.
and there are different payment plans as well. So you can either pay, 89. I think I have to check that, how much it is for the
Okay,
payment
but
plan.
the link will accompany this.
Yeah, the link will tell you all the price plans. I can quickly even go for it. Yeah, sorry, it's 109 into 2. So you can do 2 payments of 109, or you could even do 4 payments of 59. And these are monthly payments.
Yeah.
So you can definitely do that. You get to attend a 90-minute live masterclass with me that will take place on the 27th. 28th and 29th. 28th morning, you will be sent the recipes, the grocery list, so you can shop, you can prep, bring all the materials, whatever is required. And then from 30th to 5th, every single day, that's counted as a cleanse day or a reset day. There is going to be, as I said, a daily morning, evening check-in. You get some guided meditations, you get private Facebook group. So the total value you're going to get what is thousands of dollars. You are going to, like the pricing, regular price is about $339, which you are getting at $199. So till the 20th, if you sign up, you are going to get it at the discounted rate. And I have had same resetters with me, who have cleansed with me, like since I started the cleansing, there is a community that is constant as well. And every year before and a month before the cleanse, people automatically reach out that, hey, are you hosting one this year? When is it going to be, right? So I'm super excited about it. Yeah.
So quick question. I'm sure it's going to be super fun. Now, if someone works like 9 to 5, is it okay, or will they be too weak? Somebody who doesn't
it's not a question of being weak, but see, again, you could go and do the best that you can, because better is good is better than nothing, right? So you could, if you're working, you could do that, and you could look at the recipes ahead of time and plan accordingly. So as soon as you get the recipes, because I will be working throughout the cleanse, right? So as much as I'm cleansing, I can't take days off my clinic. So I do have limited appointments in the afternoon, but I am somebody who is in the clinic because I have my ongoing patients. So I'm not going to stay at home for the cleanse for 7 days. But I make sure that on the weekends, I'll do the grocery shopping. I will do some of the meal prep where I set up, maybe chop up some vegetables, set it aside, or bunch certain things together, make a plan that what am I going to cook every single day. And I like to cook the fresh every day of the cleanse, right? So sometimes for your ease, if you're making a soup, that's what you can make in the morning and have it for lunch and dinner. Or, you can, there are in the workbook, I give you like a beginner option, I give you an advanced option as well. So the beginner option is easy for everyone,
Yeah.
very simple meal plan, quick cooking recipes, not too much time in the kitchen, and you're good to go. But definitely you can do it when you're working, because I will be working when I'm
Got it.
teaching it. I'm doing the cleanse myself with everyone, but I will be working too.
Okay. So during the cleanse for people, one last question. Does your energy dip though? Should people make sure they cut in their agenda a bit more time to rejuvenate?
100% you want to give some time. Again, this is a fall cleanse. So fall cleanse is more towards building and nourishing, right?
Okay.
But we are going to get rid of caffeine. We are going to get rid of artificial sugars. We get rid of gluten. We get rid of, all the things that you may be eating in your diet, and your body is going to react a little bit to those changes, right? But the recipes, when we do the spring cleanse, that is a little bit cleaning, you're looking at more cleansing. This is, you're looking at more resetting, rejuvenating, right? But the first 3 to 4 days, you will notice a bit of changes. Some people sometimes will show up with a headache or just feel a little bit more tired, but everything levels out by day 5.
Okay, good. Perfect. Yeah. So let me just translate that, because I think it's very interesting. And when you know in advance, well, you maybe you back off a little of packing your I'm losing my packing your agenda. You'll make a little bit more space to enjoy the cleans and get familiar with the new recipes and etc. So OK, donc, alors, pour le Cleanse, c'est 199 $ en ce moment canadien pour les 7 jours. Il y a des options de paiement, donc 2 fois 109, 4 fois 59. Et vous allez savoir qu'en plus de ça, comme bonus, il y a un masterclass de 90 minutes le 27 octobre. Il y a le 28, vous allez recevoir une liste d'épicerie pour déjà acheter ce qu'il faut en avance. Et du 30 au 5, il y a aussi des méditations guidées. Vous allez recevoir, en passant, c'est le prix 199 jusqu'au 17 octobre seulement, parce qu'après, le prix change pour 339. Et la valeur du Cleanse, c'est des milliers de dollars, parce qu'il y a vraiment beaucoup d'apprentissage et beaucoup d'informations. Et je lui demandais si quelqu'un travaille, est-ce qu'il peut suivre le Cleanse ayurvédique quand même? Et elle disait, ben moi, je travaille, j'ai une clinique, je vais continuer de travailler pendant le Cleanse. Mais vous allez vous assurer de garder un petit peu plus d'espace. Et par exemple, vous pourriez préparer les recettes la fin de semaine. Donc, en Ayurveda, on essaie de cuisiner frais le plus possible la journée même, mais vous pourriez couper des légumes, vous pourriez faire une certaine préparation la fin de semaine. Et elle disait que durant le cleanse, ce n'est pas un cleanse autant détoxifiant qu'au printemps. En Ayurveda, on va viser à rajeunir, renouveler, nourrir à l'automne. Donc, on va ressourçant. Donc, on va, par contre, suspendre le café, suspendre le gluten, le sucre. Donc, il va y avoir quand même des éléments détoxifiants. Puis, vous allez ressentir un changement, mais elle disait qu'à partir de la journée 5, tous les effets sont déjà dissipés, parce que là, on va être dans bâtir, nourrir, revitaliser. Donc, voilà. I think that sums it up. So I'll put the link. Do you want to add anything else, Dr. Manjiri, or?
No, I think that's good. We had a really good discussion today. So yeah, no, I would love to see you all, during the cleanse, and you are participating in it. So this is really exciting for me. And I love cleanses. I absolutely love my resets. They are a completely different energy. the group is so awesome. So I get super excited for those. So no matter how busy I'm in life, I'll make sure I take time for, organizing, hosting, and doing the cleanse at the same time.
I've done the digestive challenge, the
Yeah.
5-day gut reset with you.
Yeah.
And I loved it. The energy that you have in your groups and how generous you are. And it's really like a training. It's like a class. We're learning so much. And many of your teachings and your workshops, there's a lot of things that we keep after the event, and that stays with us. Like when I did the gut challenge, I still it stayed with me, that to pay attention, what is it I've eaten today, and what is the food that I'm eating the most each day, and what are my same symptoms. And there's so much you give us that we take away and we keep forever. So I just think it's not just the 5 days, it's really transformative what you give and what you teach. So I'm excited to join the group, and I hope many will join. Donc, c'est très excitant. J'espère que plusieurs parmi vous allez saisir l'opportunité. Dr. Nadkarni est extrêmement généreuse. Et moi, j'avais pris le gut reset de 5 jours aussi, dans lequel j'apprends toujours avec elle. Donc, voilà. Alors, thank you very much for that great discussion.
You're most welcome. Thanks.
I believe we might chat again before the cleanse on other subjects.
Yeah, for sure.
So it'll be a pleasure. And to everyone, please share a lot this interview. All the details for the cleanse will be with this interview, and you have to share this. Many people are looking to get out of fatigue, get out of symptoms. They're looking for integrative medicine. We need to help each other out to have choices in our lives when it comes to health, and Ayurveda offers that. So thank you very much. Merci tout le monde. J'espère que vous allez vous joindre. Partagez cette entrevue. On a besoin de revenir devant des choix, et c'est important de savoir qu'on peut être très bien, qu'on a le droit d'être bien, qu'on a le droit de guérir. Merci tout le monde. Have a great Sunday evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.